There's a really big difference between giving up and burning out. Burning out is something that actually happens. It's like it's forced upon you by your internal system that is saying, no more. Giving up precedes burning out. Giving up has a negative connotation to it, right? Ugh, they gave up. I don't want to give up. But in actual fact, oftentimes giving up is a smart decision to make. When we recognize that something isn't serving us, that we're getting less from it than we're giving it, the right decision would be to give up, or to tweak or to improve circumstances. But burning out is quite misunderstood. You know, sometimes people use or present their burnt out selves as like a badge of honor, and how ridiculous that is. Burning out, generally speaking, comes from stubbornness. You go about a task, a job, a mission. You work a little bit too hard. You don't look after yourself as much as you should. You don't eat the right food. You don't sleep as much. You just keep working, almost bullheadedly like. But the only thing is that you can only do that for so long before you start losing the energy that you once had, or the decision-making capacity, because you're not sleeping as well as you should. You're tired. And what happens that little by little, as you get tired and you can't make decisions as quickly as you'd like, you get irritable. Whatever mission you're on becomes harder. And this process continues. You keep working because you don't want to give up. You get tired. You get irritable. The work gets harder. And you get more tired. And the work gets more hard. And as that process continues, you burn out. You simply cannot do even a fraction of the work that you could before, because you only have a fraction of the energy that you had, but the task is still the same. And so in actual fact, it becomes harder and harder as you get weaker and weaker, to the point that you can do no more. Welcome to burnout. Burnout is not a good thing. It is absolutely not a badge of honor. You know, when people talk about, oh, you know, I burnt out, it wasn't great. It's like, no, absolutely not great. I can tell you as somebody who's personally been there, it is shocking how such simple things that you take for granted can go. Your stress capacity can go. So you start getting stressed over the simplest of things. Your energy goes to the point that you can't even get out of bed. And the implications actually, when you wear yourself too thin and your body can't look after itself, that starts to take awful, awful impacts on people. So burnout is not a badge of honor, not something to be proud of. Giving up in the right circumstances is the most tactical thing you can do. So please, whenever it is that you have applied yourself to a task or a mission, keep your eyes wide open. Don't think that the best thing is to get through things because that's what being good is all about, seeing things through. No, keeping your eyes open and recognizing if something is serving you or not, as in for whatever work you're putting into this mission, it is going to ultimately speaking give you back tenfold. That perhaps is worthwhile continuing on. But oftentimes, unfortunately, naively and excitedly, we get ourselves into something only to realize it's not quite what we thought, and it isn't going to give us the return that we should. In those circumstances, it's time to give up. Now, there's also a little bit of a middle ground that I've talked about that I think is really important as well. You know, we celebrate the idea of, oh, I'm doing something. And we busy ourselves because it's good to be seen to be doing things, and it's not, generally speaking, too nice to not be doing things. You know, to be standing back and in actual fact taking space, that's met with a bit of judgment. So when it is that you do get yourself into something, having a very calculated eye, one, in terms of it's serving you or it will serve you, that's important. But two, that calculated eye turned back on yourself and recognizing how to look after yourself, how to get through a task. You know, that saying that comes to mind, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Oftentimes we try to sprint our way through tasks only to exhaust ourselves. And so keeping a keen eye on ourselves and recognizing what it is that you need to do to get yourself through a task. You know, perhaps how do you take a marathon-like approach to a challenge? to sleep better, to eat better, to take your rest, to recover, so that you can get through whatever challenge it is that you've put in front of yourself, that's absolutely key. And that's the middle ground. So we avoid burnout and don't in any way see it as something to celebrate. We keep our eyes open to make sure that whatever we've applied ourselves to will actually serve us. If it doesn't, we give up. And if it does serve us, we look at ourselves in the mirror and we look at what it is that we need to do for ourselves to sustain ourselves through the challenge. And ultimately speaking, what that generally comes down to is be kinder to yourself. And the kinder you are to yourself, the better you look after yourself, the more you'll get from yourself and the more it will reflect itself in whatever you've applied yourself to. This is a simple theory, but I love when I record a video like this and I'm like, oh, I wish I watched this 10 years ago. Because unfortunately speaking, I was that bullheaded entrepreneur that didn't have my eyes open and applied myself to tasks that, one, weren't going to serve the return, and two, I definitely should have jumped out sooner, but instead I just kept going till I ground myself out and burnt myself out, and I really don't want that to happen to you. Please don't let that happen to you. Make sure whatever it is that you're applying yourself to is going to serve a 10x or a 20x return back to you. And make sure as you're pursuing that you really look after yourself along the way. That might sound counterintuitive, taking space and time to look after yourself, but ultimately speaking, it will see you complete whatever task it is that you've applied yourself to all the easier and ultimately all the quicker too. So I hope this serves you well. Of course, I have no doubt you will have little bits of feedback to share, and do in the comments below. And I will just look forward to sharing with you again soon.